Yeah, that's a real stamp. Right? Alrighty, guys, welcome to Animate with everyone's animator. I am everyone's animator. This video makes it our class number 6, which is where we'll be talking about body poses. In our previous class so far, we've been able to create a quick storyboard design, also a rough sketch of our body poses, lip syncing, which is where we made our character to talk, and now we'll be creating the final version of the body poses where we will have our character to move and do everything we planned out in the storyboard corresponding to the voiceover. Enough of all the talk, let's get to it. Alrighty, guys, welcome to the real walk in the animation process. Okay, so right in the software now. So far, this is where we've gotten our project file up to. So I think we've been able to cover the necessary things we need to do. So now we just need to focus mainly on the body poses. We have all of our expressions all set out. So he's talking, he has his eyeball, everything working. So we just need to make sure he's not just standing the way he's standing right now. All right, so to begin with, the first thing to do is to repose him to what we have in this rough sketch right here. So I will have to repose him so that it stands with what we have planned out, with him holding the big button and also standing with the leg wide apart. So I will do that right now real quick. So to do that, what I will do is I will unlock the boy layer, which is where we have him, and I will go inside by double clicking to where I have access to the body's separate parts. So I will unlock the one for the chest, which is where we have this chest. I think let me just check it out. I will check everything out to see which one needs changing anyway. So let me hide everything. I think this chest is good the way it is. Okay, I think that's good. I can just wireframe it clicking on that color box thingy thing next to the high button, eye icon rather. So for the leg, of course, that needs changing. The hands needs changing. So let's start with the first hand, which is the left hand. So for this one, I can zoom in and then enter the symbol, double click to go inside. So this is where we can make the changes to the hand. So I can create a new frame on frame 2, right click, insert blanky frame. So once I created the second frame, now I can just use this as a guide to create the new hand frame I want to. So bear in mind, of course, again, the size of your brush and how long the hand is, the proportion of your character and all sorts. So I'll grab my brush too, color on black, and then confirm my stroke. I think this is too much, so let me go to my properties panel and bring it down to about 5. Let me bring this down to 5. Okay, so let me check it out again. All right, that's good. So I can now use this to draw the real pose for my hand. Okay, once I'm done drawing out the hand, I can easily just delete the previous one because I don't need that, obviously. So right click on frame 1 where we have the previous hand, and then go to remove frames. So it will remove frame 1 and then replace it with what we have on frame 2, which will now come to frame 1. Now we have that hand. I can go back outside to where we have scene 1 boy and then repeat the same process for the next hand. Alrighty, so I'm done with that. You will notice I didn't do the red button. The reason is because I noticed the red button in the rough sketch we'll have to press, so sort of a thing. So that's why I decided to separate it. So I will just put that in a separate folder outside here, so I can easily animate that once I get that part. So let's leave it for now anyway. So since we're done with the reposing for the two hands, let's also repose the leg as well. Now that I'm done reposing the body to the necessary main posture that we want him to have, the next thing to do now is to grab our rough blocking poses, which we did outside on scene 1, and bring it inside this character, so we can do the same process for the rest of the keyframes. So to do that, just go to scene 1 where we have this rough folder, right click and copy, then go inside the character and then right click anywhere, maybe at the top, and then paste layer. So once you paste, you notice that the character rough sketch pastes somewhere else, which is not at the center of the page, which we took it out from. So not to flict, there's a way to solve this where we can easily just select all the layers and then drag the frame to the center. So to adjust the rough sketch, we copied into that symbol. Once we are back on scene 1, so just select the character itself where we paste that rough sketch, and then drag the rough sketch to fit with the previous rough sketch below. So once we have it snapped to the exact part where we have the previous rough sketch, you can cross check by hiding and unhiding the main character to see if there's a flip. But if you are quite happy with what you have, just hide the previous rough sketch we did and then unhide the new one, which is where we have this character, and then go back inside that symbol and select everything except for the rough sketch. So looking down on my timeline, you can see we have rough. So I can just unlock everything except for rough, select everything, Ctrl A, click and drag it down to fit with the rough sketch. So once we have all this set up now, we can easily use this rough sketch inside this main symbol of our boy character, while we use these straight up to create the rest of the body poses corresponding to the rough sketch we created. So what I mean is, we can go to the next keyframe where we have him raise his hand up, and then we create a keyframe on the hand, and then we create that main pose all the way like that. So now that I have the rough sketch paste into the main symbol of our character, which is scene 1, what I need to do now is to go to the next keyframe and also change the body pose corresponding to the rough sketch. So I'll come to this next keyframe now where I have this hand coming up. Then I can easily just select, unlock and select the hand. Feel free to zoom in. So I can select the hand, right click on that keyframe, insert blank keyframe, and then draw the next corresponding hand to that. So with my onion skin on, I can easily just select that keyframe and then draw the next hand. Let me move the rough down. It seems to be disturbing me a little bit, so I can have a little clearer view on what I'm working on. Alright, so once I have that sketched out, I can easily ignore the colors for now. So I'll just go all the way and create the necessary poses for also the chest. Any parts that I notice there's a change anyway, so I'll just have to change everything for each keyframes on where we have them on our rough sketch. So I'll skip this video to the future where I have all the poses sketched out, so you can take things further from there. Alrighty guys, so welcome to the future. So what I've been able to do here is, if you check out the keyframes, you will see I have created a keyframe for the hand, and also where we have this other hand coming here, and I create where it clicks the button and then the head falling with it. And so if you watch through, so you notice I didn't touch the head at all. For everything happening, I have to keep the head still. The reason is because the head is one entity that has a lot of animation inside, and I wouldn't want to destroy any form of it, or by dragging any form of the frames inside, disrupting the arrangement of the timeline. So it's best once you have done with your body poses and everything is cleared out, that's when you can now select keyframes for your head and then adjust them to where you want the hair to be. So that is one. And secondly, there's something here that I did. I created a new folder here, folder 3, which I can rename to call it arm. Reason is because at this point we have this hand coming in front of the chest. Originally, you will notice we have the hand behind the chest here, which is left arm. And if you try to check it out, you'll see that once you move this around, it goes behind the chest. But in this case, the hand comes right in front. So the only way you can achieve that is to create a new layer in front of chest, which is going to be on top of the chest layer. If I hide this now, you will see what I've been able to create here for the other backhand. So I just create the forehand for that, and then for the palm, which is the hand under the button, I put that in front of the chest so that we can have that illusion where the hand is in front of this of the chest. So you see here where we have this break. So the two of them just need to connect seamlessly, so people won't really notice the break itself. That is number 2 on what I've been able to do. And the last thing I think I should mention here before I move further is this part where we have the character leaning forward towards his head, this part right here. Although this is not the tutorial for walk cycle or run cycle or anything, so I will skip this part in the final animation. I will just drag him across the screen. So later in the future, we will try as much as possible to have a tutorial explaining to us the basics of animation. If you remember on our very first video, I made us to understand that you need a basic understanding of animation before you can follow along in this course. But for not to worry, you can still get the basic thing done in this our course if you follow along. But I think I will just create a tutorial on work cycle anyway, or every necessary basic animation you need to know before you can even dive into creating advanced animations. So but for this, like I said, I will just move it around. I'll just move it across the screen just to skip that part, and then keep things as simple as possible for us. So now that I'm done with the inking of that body poses, I will fill in all the colors so that we see what it is we have, and then we can take things further from there. Alrighty guys, so now I've been able to complete the inking for all the poses that I created. You can check it out and see we have for this part, we have for this all done out. So you can see what I said. Now once I fill in the color, now this part has been filled seamlessly, and then I have this other part. So what I need to do now before moving further is to create the red button for all this sequence before I got to this part where we finally see the button. So to do that real quick, I can come here to where I have this backhand, this original backhand. Okay, so I can just come behind it, which is below it on the timeline, create a new layer. I can call this button BTN. Then I can just lock everything except for that and draw just the box thinking thing, as simple as that. Paint it red. So go to every necessary keyframes and see if there's a change. Okay, there's a change here. I can now select this keyframe, right click, insert blank keyframe. If I decide to draw here, you notice it will go behind the chest like I mentioned before. So that means this layer for this BTN at this point is useless. So I need to create a new one now, which is going to be behind this new hand we created again, so which is layer 3. So I'll create a new layer under that, and I call this BTN2. So now create a new keyframe here, right click, insert keyframe, and then draw the new button. So I can just come here and draw my box thinking thing. Remember to fill it red. So if you check through, you'll see it, the snap. So now we have the button here. So for the part where the hand clicks the button, we'll do the animation afterwards anyway. So we have that set out. So far so good. We just need to make sure that we have everything we needed all set out. So the hand press. So okay, now you can see this is why we need to cross check everything. So at this point we need to cut this keyframe. So the reason is because this button is showing here. We don't need this to show because we have it here already, and besides our character lifts the button up. So I can select this part, right click, and insert blank keyframe. So we cut it out, and then now we see we have everything all set out. So at this point now, what we need to do is try as much as possible to smooth out this animation, because what we have so far so good here are just keyframes. So we have the first keyframe where he raises his fingers up, a finger up rather, sorry, and then we have this part with the hand bringing it this closer to his chest, and then pressing and exaggerating the J all the way. So we need to just smooth it out. So let's just add 1 or 2 keyframes in between all this to smooth things out. So to do this, the first step or the first way to do this is you can come back to where you have your rough sketch, which is where you did this rough sketch originally, and then rough sketch your in-betweens. That is if you want to just plan things out parallel before you do them, or you can just go straight ahead. So for the case of this class, I would love to rough them out so I can explain why doing it. Then I will skip to the future where I've finally done the final inking and coloring. So let me zoom into the hand, which is this part. I know this is just the only thing that moves. So before this keyframe, let me come back here, right click, and insert a blank keyframe. It doesn't matter anyway because this is just a rough sketch. So what I need to do now is select my onion skin so I can see the before and after on that hand. This is what we have here, this is what we have here. So I need to connect these two together in a curve. So what I can do is I can use a simple cartoon frame guide, which is something that looks like this. So we have the first keyframe here, which is where we are coming from, and this is where we are going to. Then for the next keyframe we can have that one here, and then the next keyframe you can have it here. Sometimes I might probably have one in between, to connect the 4 together, but in this case let's just omit this one and then work with 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that means we need 2 keyframes. So that means we need 2 in-betweens to connect our frame 1 and frame 4 together. For us to understand what I just illustrated right now, I will do them in the timeline. So paying attention to the frame guideline that I created. So what I need to do now is, since we are coming from here and then we are going to this place in a curve, that means I need a frame here and then I need another frame here. As simple as that. So I can usually use this, just leave it the way they are, probably change the color so it doesn't disturb me, then go back to my white so I can have my hand come somewhere around here. I can bend this a little bit, still have my thumb and then the fingers. That's for the next frame. So I can select this new frame we just created and then drag it back so I can have another space here. So in this space I can also right click again and then insert blank keyframe. So remember, this is the next one we are using. So now I can also curve this, now bring this here and then have my finger pointing up already. So remember it's rough, so I'm just trying to quickly rough out the idea. So if you remove your onion skin now and then you play through, you'll see the hand now have like a sort of like a complete motion. So I repeat the same process also for everything. Not really everything though, it depends on the motion. If it's something that happens too fast, I won't really do that. If something happens slowly, I'll have to change the graph. So let's just see what we can use for the next one. So for this next keyframe now, we can see this is sort of like a huge motion, but it doesn't really look huge anyway. We can still use the same graph for this as well. So before the next keyframe, let's insert a blank keyframe as well. Onion skin, don't forget that. So let's attend to each hand separately, because the first hand is this coming here and then the second one is this coming here. So you can attend to them separately. So for this I can have one here and then one here, and then for this as well I can also have one. I can just have one for this, or maybe one there and then one here. So we have two in betweens. So same process, sometimes I don't really work with this, but you can also use this if you want to. But let's delete this and then work without it so we know how it looks like. So remember, we are coming from here and then we are going here. So you put on your mind and then go to your next script and then go to your in between and then let's draw. So I can have something like this. So this is where your knowledge in art comes in. You need to know what the hand shape is gonna look like at a certain position in time, because if you're not an artist, you might really have a problem understanding if the hand turns, how is it gonna look like at this point in time. So for this one as well, again, I can just shift it closer a little bit, somewhere around here, while this stays in the same position. So same process, select, drag it back, right click on the new one and then insert blank keyframe, and then let's move it closer to where we are going to now, so we can have this. So it's still rough sketch. I don't really need to stress myself in thinking too much on how is it gonna look like. So we have the finger ready to press the button and then it goes all the way back down. Okay, so remove your onion skin and then test it out so you can see. So like a smooth motion. So we have 1 2 1 2. So at this point, let's have him click the button. Boom. Let's have him click the button at this point in time. So I'll just insert a keyframe. Let me see, and then let me just note that clicks. So I can just note that. So in the final thing I will do the animation, it's just a matter of pushing this finger down. I don't really need to have too much keyframe setting out in that part. Okay, so let's go to the next keyframe, which is here, the head falling. So I don't think we need to guide this one as regard keyframing and all those stuff, so we can easily just do that on a simple animation. What we need to focus on now is just the body poses. Okay, so we have an extreme motion here, so you can also still use the same graph method. Okay, so before that, let's right click, insert blank keyframe. Remember, ignore the head so that you can just focus on the body for now. So we are coming from here and then we are going to here. So we have the first hand here and then the second hand here. You can always do what I'm doing now, so you can use that as a reference to understand where you want your drawings to be. So the first hand is here and then it's coming here. So motions are always in guide, so that's why you notice most of my guides are in curve. For the body that is just leaning back, sorry, the body is just leaning back anyway, so that one is just a simple motion. We don't need to guide that. So for the hand, let's work with this. Let's change the color so it doesn't disturb us. I think we need this for this part anyway, so let's keep it. So remember, we are coming from here and then we are going here, so that means our next keyframe, since we are coming from here, that means our next keyframe is this one. So I can draw my hand here and then have the hand spread out, because it's about to experience a shock. So I can do that. And then for this part, let me just put a finger here and then the big button. Okay, so select, drag back and then insert a blank keyframe again. So remember the next one, so the next one is somewhere around here, so we can go here and then we draw that. So I need to stress, you need to understand art to be able to know how the body parts of a character looks like from a certain angle. This is something I'm not teaching, this is something I'm not explaining. As you can see, I'm also just doing it. I'm trying to crack my head here to do it myself. I'm not stressing too much on trying to let you understand how I'm even getting all these shapes. I had to use my artistic knowledge to understand that, okay, if the hand is coming here at this point in time, this is where the thumb needs to be, this is where the pinky needs to be and stuff. So once you're done with that, remove the onion skin and then scrub to just see through your animation. So it's pretty much what we are looking for. And then let's see where we have another big animation. So I think it's the part where he runs forward Okay, this is the part I said. So we are gonna just keep this part where it takes a step and then walks away. So we will skip this part, keep it on the keyframe, and then we just drag it across the screen that way, just to keep things simple. So far so good. I've been able to create the necessary rough sketch for every keyframe, connecting them together. So even with that, you can easily see the full animation, so we can easily see what our character is about to do and what is going on. So what I'm doing now is I'll cut to the future where I've finally created all the final inking and color of all this rough sketch on our character, and then I'll explain one or two things that I feel we need to know as regard that. So yeah, see you in the future in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty guys, welcome to the future. So I've been able to complete the inking for all the frames. Let's give it a quick review.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button. Okay. Ouch.
Okay, once again.
Watch what will happen if I press this button. Okay. Ouch.
Okay, so one thing I adjusted here is if you remember once when we were doing the roughs in betweens, I was doing everything on 1 frames, and that is something we also called drawing in ones. So but I noticed the motion were too fast and stuff, so but originally I animate on 2 frames, which is what we call drawing on twos. So I had to make sure that the in-betweens we created, I spread them out into 2 frames, which is what you can see here, 1 2 1 2, before it goes to that keyframe, and then everything else is on twos. So far so good. You can see I've been able to complete everything, and also I did the button press thing. So now what's left for us to do is to do the head, because so far so good. I think we are good with what the body is doing now so far. So let's just quickly attend to the head so we can see everything in real time. So on that note, I will have every other layer locked except for the head, so I can have access to my head. Select it, zoom in just in case I want to, or let me just zoom out anyway. So all right, so now that we are attending to the head, let's make sure we listen to the voice over attentively, so we know when we want him to look down or look up.
Now watch what will happen.
Okay, now watch what will happen. Is talking to us, so we can keep his head like the way it is. But at this point, I want him to nod.
Now watch what will happen.
So happen, I want him to nod. So this is happen. So this is happen. Let me create a keyframe here. Shortcut for that, F6, or you can just right click, insert keyframe. So and then I will go maybe 4 frames ahead or 5, insert another keyframe, and then 3 frames before the first keyframe, insert a keyframe. So now I have 3 keyframes, which is 1 2 3. So what these 3 keyframes is going to help me to do is to create a nudge. The reason for the first keyframe is to hold where our head is right now. It's just like a cut in point. So where we have his head standing, that's what the first keyframe is doing. So it's just holding that frame for me. The second keyframe is where the head is going to come down, which is where the nod is, and then the last keyframe is where it's going to come back to this final head position. So to say, I will just go to the middle keyframe now, select my free transform tool, and then bring the head down a little bit, just a tiny nudge, so you can see him nod. Then once I'm done with that, I will select in between those 3 keyframes, just like this, right click and insert classic twin. So once I do that, the software will automatically create the in-betweens for me, corresponding to the part where we are doing the body poses, where I was even being the one creating my in-between myself. But for this case, because the head is a graphic symbol, Animate will understand and then reads it as something it can work with. So now if you scrub to, you see the head nod smoothly. So let's review.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button.
Okay. So when he raised his hand up, I want him to push his head backward a little bit, so I can have 1 keyframe which is for the in point, and then let me spread out a little bit for the out point. Then I can move the head back. Same process, right click in between, insert classic twin. So he moves his head back. Then the point where he's looking down, I can now bring his head back down. So first keyframe for in point, and then move further away for out point. So the distance between those two keyframes is not something that is fixed or something that there's a rule behind. It depends on you. You are the one animating it, so you can decide to say maybe I want it to be wider, I want it to be closer to each other. The only thing you need to know is that if the two keyframes are closer to each other, the motion will be faster. In this case I have just 3 frames, that means the motion is faster. But in this case that I have close to about 6 or 7, the motion will be slower. So it depends. If you want him to look down in a slow motion, have more frames. If you want him to look down faster, have less frames. So that's what in animation we call the multi-frame. The slower the animation, the lesser the frame, the faster the animation. So since I have my in point now and then my out point, I can now bring his head down so he can look down to the button it's about to press. Same process, right click, insert classic twin, then it looks down, then it click. Even while it clicks, it looks up, so let's just have him click, because he doesn't really know what the button is going to do. So it clicks, and then if you review back our rough sketch, so we can take note of the points, the part where the head drops down. So we see that, okay, this is the point where the head drops. So I can just select that keyframe here. So it clicks, and then the head is about to drop. Okay, so let me just say before that anyway. So I can drag down my rough sketch now, hide it, and then let me just create a keyframe for that. So immediately it clicks, that's where we have the head dropping. So I'm trying to just adjust this chest to that. Okay, so once it clicks, then the head is about falling. So let me have my in point somewhere around here. Okay, then the head drops down somewhere around here, corresponding to this rough sketch here. So let me just view my rough sketch so I can be seeing the head. Now we are attending to the head, so I think it's best we have our rough sketch visible. So I can create my out point here, rotate the head, bring it down as the head hits the floor, something like that. So I can now create a classic twin in between, so you can see. Okay, so now you see what I'm saying here. So the frames are too much, it makes the animation slower, but I want the animation to be faster. So let me just undo that, and then let me move the keyframe closer. So let me say somewhere around here. Okay, so let me just move the keyframe closer, rotate, drops down. Okay, so I can now create a classic twin. Let's see now. Okay, that's good. So it drops and then moves over to the front, rotate a little bit, insert keyframe, insert classic twin. Okay, so there should be a bounce here. Let me select a new keyframe here and punch the head up with my arrow button, so I can have it bounce. Okay, so we have him click, his head drops. Okay, all right, so that's good. What I'm doing right now is just trying to check out for the timing, but at the same time I'm trying not to make things complicated, so I just want to keep it as simple as possible. What I want us to take home from this part is creating a character animation, just blocking your character, getting it set up, having him move, and then do stuff. Okay, so we have this now. The head is on the ground. Okay, so I move over again. I see that, okay, it moves forward. Like I said, we are skipping this, so at this point in time I will just animate the head kicking forward, just to compensate for him trying to pick his head with a little bit of motion we are trying to create here. So let me just push the head further, rotate a little bit more. So just imagine it like a football. Anyway, it rotates. Okay, you keep kicking it forward. and then it kicks it again. So I can have another one. Let me rotate it a little bit, push it forward. It's at classic twin.
Ow. Yeah, my head.
So
Ouch. Yeah, my head.
all right, there's a continuity problem here. The button that is it was holding here at
Ow.
this point in time is not in its ad again, so we can easily just ignore that. We are just trying to learn here. So anyway, we can as well just keep it in his hand. But let's just keep that. Okay, so um okay, now let's quickly add the motion to the body so it moves along with the head. So let me unlock the layer where I have that. So I have the legs here. It's pretty flat, so I can right click on that, convert to a graphic symbol. Remember, if you want to do a further animation on your objects, you need to convert them to graphic symbol. So let me call this leg 6 because I already have a leg symbol. And then for the chest, where we have this chest, I can do the same thing for that as well, convert it to symbol. Okay, so that way I can animate them over. So moves, it kicks it, and then it moves forward again. So I can select a keyframe at this point, go back and select an cut in keyframe, and then in between those two keyframes, right click and insert classic twin. So it moves forward. So now I can select those um, output keyframe, which is the cutout keyframe, and then punch my character forward with my right arrow key. Okay, so it moves forward. Boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom.
yeah, my head.
So let's just hold it that way. All right, so far so good. Let's review to see what we have been able to create. So I play.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button. Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, my head.
Okay, that's cool. That's lovely. Alrighty. So aside from the continuity problem I see, and then we not connecting this body pose from him standing to him, taking a step forward. But aside from all that, I believe this is a good to go animation. Okay, as regard body poses for animation. So that is all we have for today's class, and next class we'll take this further in a case where we have to smooth things out or probably create extra things for this animation. But for our next class, which is going to be final composition, that's when we're slapping the camera, export it out and take it all the way to Premiere Pro to add in a little bit of sound effect if necessary, and then we give it a final render. So on that note, thanks for having me today. Thanks for your time. Remember, the project file will be made available so you can easily navigate around and see how I've been able to create this. So one last time, let's review to see what we've been able to do today.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button. Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, my head. So guys, that is all we have for today's class. Sure, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and that bell button, click on it so you will get notified when the next class drops. So until next time guys, keep being a dazzling artist.